Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. How you doing today? I'm on my walk. As you can see, I'm out in this wooded lot near where I live, and as you can see, it's definitely very wooded, but I'm not too far from civilization. Actually, there's a residential area nearby, but when I'm here I feel like I'm out in the wilderness. It is so beautiful. So anyway guys, I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to be making that gorgeous necklace that you saw in the introduction, and that is such a sparkly necklace, guys. The crystals are absolutely amazing. I got them from GGC's treasure bag, her summer edition. The name of her bag is Summer Bling Fling, and if you were one of the lucky ones to get that bag, then congratulations. And if you weren't one of the lucky ones, it's never too late to sign up for her notifications so you don't miss out next time. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link down below so you can go check out her website. And as soon as you get there, make sure you sign up for the notifications. That way she'll notify you the next time she releases a bag. I don't know what this is. This looks like a stage of some sort. The stage is right here, and this is the seating. Isn't it cool? I wonder if the schools use this spot. There's a school nearby. But anyway guys, it's super hot today. Let me get off the stage here. So look at this beautiful wilderness, guys. Look at the gorgeous trees. It is so pretty. I love this place. But anyway guys, as I was saying, we're going to be making that necklace, and I will leave a list of all the materials down below in the description section of this video. So if you don't have the beads or you didn't get the bag, you can check out the dimensions and the colors of the beads. Now if you hear traffic, it's because there is traffic nearby. There's actually a very busy intersection nearby, believe it or not. And I think this is peak time traffic, and that's why you're hearing the traffic noise. Hopefully you can hear me okay though. It's a little bit breezy, but very beautiful, and it's nice and dry today. I always feel like I'm giving you a weather report. I don't know why I do that. I do that every single time. But anyway, as I was saying, the other thing that I like to do is to leave timestamps down below in the description section as well, for those of you who don't want to sit through the bead selection and the talk about the design and all of that. I know some of you just want to jump right into the tutorial, and that's fine. So just click on the timestamps, okay? And as always, I'm going to ask those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel to please think about doing so, because it really does help my channel, and it helps me personally as a content creator to stay motivated to create more videos for you. Let me come over here and sit down. As you can see, the road is right there. So there is quite a bit of traffic on that road today. I think this is peak time traffic. So anyway guys, the other thing I wanted to say is thank you so much to everybody who left a comment the other day on my last video where I was talking about the negativity. The truth of the matter is I don't get a lot of negativity. I get mostly positive feedback from you guys. I'm so grateful. But you guys really lifted me up with all your beautiful, encouraging words. I was taken aback, honestly. I was so grateful. It brought tears to my eyes, and I know I haven't responded to everybody. I apologize for that. I'll try to get to everybody eventually. I did respond to some, but then I got so many comments that it became a little overwhelming. But anyway, hopefully I can get to them when I have a little bit of free time. Honestly, I've been very fortunate because my viewers, most of my viewers, are so kind-hearted and sweet. I get mostly positive feedback. The negative feedback that I was talking about happened about a year ago when I was doing a lot of bug and bee box. But currently, I've been getting mostly just positive feedback and very few thumb downs or thumbs down. I never know how to say that. Maybe it's thumbs downs. I don't know. Such a silly thing to worry about. There are so many other more important things that we can be worrying about, right? But anyway, guys, as I was saying, I'm super grateful for each and every one of you. I really appreciate you being here and leaving me such wonderful, uplifting comments. Let me turn my camera around so you can see my view. It is so beautiful. Look at this, guys. Look how gorgeous this place is. It is so beautiful here. It really is. Sometimes when I come down here late, like around 6 or 7, it is super quiet. All you can hear are the birds. So anyway guys, I don't want to make this video any longer than it should be, so let's go ahead, turn the camera around, and we'll get started. And here we have GGC's treasure bag. Like I said before, the name of the bag is Summer Bling Fling. It's a 6th edition. And if you haven't seen the unboxing, I'll leave a link down below so you can go check it out. But as you can see, the bag was filled with all kinds of gorgeous bead strands and colors. And of course, there were quite a few findings and quite a few pendants. But let me go ahead and pull out the strands that we're going to be using for today's project. So here are the beads that I've decided to use for today's necklace. Let me just go over the beads real quick with you. These blue ones are called Pentagon Faceted Beads. They measure 5 by 5 by 5 millimeters in dimension. And I love these because they have pentagon shaped facets, which make them really sparkly and really beautiful. These are the oval glass beads, and this color is peach. They measure 6.5 by 4.5 millimeters. And what I like about these beads is the smoothness and the transparency. And of course, I like the shape as well. These tiny ones are Rondelle beads, and the color is coral, and they measure 4.5 by 3.5 millimeters. These also have a beautiful plating, as you can see. And when I first saw these large faceted Bicone crystals, I knew I had to use them. These are absolutely stunning. Let me show you. As you can see, there are 4 different colors. There's a lavender, there's a purple, there's a dark blue, and a light blue. And the sparkle in these beads is so nice. They're supposed to be AAA grade, which I think means that they're pretty good quality. But anyway, they measure 14 by 12 by 6 millimeters in dimension. And I love that they're all different colors. So we're actually going to incorporate as many of these colors as we can into the necklace. I'm also going to be using these beautiful flat Bicone crystal beads. These are actually Imitation Swarovski. So you know the sparkle is really nice if they're labeled Imitation Swarovski. They measure 14 by 12 by 6 millimeters, and the color is peach. So these are the beads we're going to be using. Let's go over the other materials you'll be needing. We're going to be using some bead stringing wire, and this one's by Beadalon, and it's 49 strand, as you can see, and it's in a satin gold color. The thickness is 0.018 of an inch. Along with the beading wire, we'll be using some crimp tubes. These are by Beadalon, and they're size number 2, and they're in a gold color, as you can see. And here I have a couple of crimp tube covers and some wire guardians. We'll be using some craft wire, and this is by Beadalon. It's German style wire, and it's 22 gauge, and it's in a gold color, as you can see. I'm also going to be using some ball head pins, and these are the thin kind, which means I can do wraps with them. We'll be using the chain that came in the bag. This is Figaro chain, and as you can see, it's in a gold color. The links measure 5 by 7 by 3.8 millimeters, and as you can see, this chain is comprised of a large link and a small link. But if you don't have this kind of chain, any chain will do, as long as the links aren't too big. I'm going to be using some daisy spacers, and they're about 4.5 millimeters across, I would say. They're not very big, and of course these did not come in the bag, but there's nothing special about these. You can find these on Amazon, or you can find them on Etsy. They're pretty easy to find. They're just your generic daisy spacer. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I have the beads that we're going to be using for today's design. I may not need all of these, but I just thought we'd get started. And I've already made some sketches and played around with this design, so I kind of know what I'm doing. So let me show you what I had in mind. I was thinking about arranging these flat bicones along the top. I just thought these were so pretty, and when I first saw them, I knew I had to use them. So this is basically what I had in mind for the top of the focal. I have this one left over, which I'm going to probably use for a bracelet or something. And when I saw the shape of these faceted bicones, I realized that they actually fit very snugly in the spaces of these flat bicones. So let me just arrange them to show you. So this is what I was thinking about, something like this. It's not going to look exactly like this. It'll be a little bit more spaced out, but this is the basic arrangement of the large beads. So the other thing I wanted to do was to place these blue beads at the top, something like this. And I'm going to be using these daisy spacers on the blue beads to space them out a little bit. I know it's difficult to see, but this gives you some idea. And these 2 beads I'm probably going to use for a bracelet or something. So let me put them aside. I'm also going to use some of these little rondelles to space these beads out a little bit more, and you'll see how I do that later on. So now that we have some idea of what the focal is going to look like, let me get the head pins. Here are my head pins. Let me go ahead and start with this bead here. I'm simply going to put it on the head pin like this. And now with my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the pin at the top of the bead like this, kink it like this, switch to this portion of my pliers. Now your barrels may be different. These are by Lindstrom, and my barrels are kind of skinny. And now I'm going to simply wrap the tail around the barrel of my pliers like this. Flip my pliers around. Continue to wrap that tail towards the back like this. Remove the pliers. And now I'm going to make some wraps. I like to grab my loop with a set of skinny pliers. These are by Xuron. And somebody asked me the other day where I got these. You can get these on Amazon. but I'm sure that other websites have them as well. But these are crimping pliers, and I like to use these because the tips are very small. So I'm going to grab the loop with the tip of my pliers like this. And then with another set of pliers, and these are by Xeron as well, they're needle nose pliers, I'm going to grab the tail and I'm going to do a couple of wraps. You can do more than 2 if you want to. I usually only like to do 2. So now I'm going to cut off the excess. And if you see a sharp end, you want to definitely tuck it in. And this is what you should have. So this one's going to sit in between these 2 beads here. Let me go ahead and do this one now. Now this one's going to be a little different because it needs to hang a little lower. So I'm going to put it on the head pin, just like this. And now I'm going to thread a couple of these rondelle beads. Just like this. And the reason I know that I only need 2 is because, as you can see, if I place the component next to this one, you can see that it hangs a little lower. And this is exactly what I need in order for it to look properly. Like I said before, I've already experimented with this design, so I kind of know what I'm doing. So let me go ahead and make a wrapped loop. I'm going to grab the head pin at the top of the bead again, like this. Kink my wire, like this. Switch to this portion of my pliers. Take the tail, wrap it around the nose of my pliers, like this. Flip my pliers around, continue to wrap to the back, like this. Remove the pliers, and now I'm going to grab the loop with my skinny pliers, grab the tail, and do a couple of wraps. And now I'm going to snip off the excess, and now tuck in the little end. So this is what we have so far. Let me just fix the arrangement of my beads again. I'm going to work on this one now. We'll do the bottom one first. And again, it's a wrap loop. So here's this one. Now for this flat bicone, I will need my 22 gauge wire. So I'm going to snip off a piece that's about 2 inches long. I'm going to kink it at about 1/3 of the way down. And now I'm going to place my round nose pliers right here where the kink is. Take the tail, wrap it around. Flip my pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. Grab the loop with my skinny pliers. Grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess. And now I'm going to tuck in that little end. And now let's thread the bead on, like this. Grab the wire right here. This is actually the bottom of the bead. And this is the top. I'm going to line up this loop down here, kink my wire, reposition my pliers, wrap the tail around, flip my pliers around, and continue to wrap to the back. Now I'm not going to close this loop. I'm not going to do wraps because I need to slide this loop inside the open loop before I do the wraps. Just like that. And now let me grab the loop with my skinny pliers, grab the tail. And by the way, guys, I said 2 inches, but you know, if you're a beginner, you might be better off cutting yourself a longer piece just so you don't have to struggle, because it is a little bit of a struggle if you don't have enough wire. And if you're a beginner, you want to try to make things as easy as possible. Now I'm going to cut off the excess. And if you see a little end, you want to tuck it in. So here's this one now. Now this middle dangle is just going to have these 2 beads. Let me go ahead and put the bottom one on a head pin, like this. And again, it's just a wrap loop. I have another piece of 22 gauge wire, and once again I'm going to kink it at the top about 1/3 of the way down. Grab the loop, do a couple of wraps, snip off the excess, tuck in the little sharp end, and I'm going to thread on 2 of these rondelles again, just like I did with this one. Let me go ahead and thread the Bicone bead on now, and once again I'm going to loop it at the bottom. And before I close it, I'm going to attach this one here, like this. Grab the loop, and grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess. And now I'm going to tuck in the little sharp end if I see one. So here's this one now. Let me reposition these here so you can get an idea of how it's going to look. So that's basically it. I have 3 more dangles. This one, and this one. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to do them the exact same way that I did these 3 here. So let me speed up the film and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I mounted all of these on wire, and before I thread these on beading wire, I'm going to test them out because I want to make sure that this is going to work. And to test them out, I usually use one of my rods. These are called magic rods. I carry them in my Etsy store, and I like these because they're made out of steel and they hold their shape. They're flexible, but they do hold their shape. And before I came up with this idea, I used to use beading wire, but I don't like to waste my beading wire, and I don't like to mess with it because I feel that if you mess with beading wire too much, it just kinks it. It can kink it and bend it and make it look a little bit worn. Obviously, if you don't have these, you can use a regular piece of craft wire or a scrap piece of beading wire. And that's one of the reasons I like to use these. These are not scrap pieces of wire. These are actually part of my toolkit. And so I use them over and over again. But anyway, let me show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to arrange the focal part first, and then I'm going to arrange a series of beads that are going to run up the strand towards the chain. And I'm going to start with a daisy spacer, and then one of these blue beads, and then another daisy spacer, and now the first dangle, and another daisy spacer, and another faceted bead, and another daisy spacer. So it looks like this. And again, the reason I wanted to use the daisy spaces is to create a little bit of space between the dangles. And I needed this size because I didn't want anything to slide inside the loop of the dangles. So that's another consideration. Some of you may be thinking, well, why don't you just use seed beads? Well, the problem is the seed beads will slide inside that loop, and I don't want that to happen. So let me continue to hang these dangles and the beads. So this is what we have so far, and I think it looks lovely. Let me show you. As you can see, the beads sit really nicely up against each other. Let me go ahead and put a stopper on this end, and I'll bring everything up close. I have another one at this end. That's another nice thing about these rods, they come with stoppers. So now all the beads and spaces are snugly up against each other, as you can see, and everything looks really nice. It all fits nicely, and I really like how they look. As you can see, I have a daisy spacer at the end, then a blue bead, then a daisy spacer, and then a dangle, and another daisy spacer, a blue bead, daisy spacer, dangle, daisy spacer, blue bead, and so on. So now let me go ahead and arrange some more beads. I think what I'll do is thread on some of these oval beads now. And I'm not sure if I should use 3 or 4 or 5. Let me see how this looks. I think 4 would be really nice. I'm going to put a daisy spacer now. And one of the blue faceted beads. And another daisy spacer. Like this. Let me move everything down a little bit. And now I'm going to continue threading some of these oval beads. I think I'll thread on 4. That looks really nice. I have some more daisy spacers here. And I think I'm going to finish this side with a blue bead. So I have a daisy spacer, a blue bead, and another daisy spacer. Like this. Let me put my stopper on. That looks really, really nice. So I'm going to repeat the same pattern on this side now. I'll flip it over, remove my stopper. So here they are all threaded on, and I really like that. I love how it looks. It looks really nice. And by the way, guys, if you're wondering the length of these rods, I actually work with my rejects, the ones that are either cut too short or there's something wrong with them. But I usually sell them in 2 lengths, either the 9-inch length or the 12-inch length. Obviously, this is the shorter length. And speaking of length, let me go ahead and measure it. It's almost 8 inches long. So that helps in determining how much chain you're going to need. Obviously, we need to account for the loops that we're going to be making with a beading wire. So I'm not going to cut any chain until I actually put these on beading wire and crimp off the ends. And that's another thing that the rods come in handy for. Now that I know that this is 8 inches long, I'm going to cut myself a beading wire that's going to be at least 12 inches long because I want 2 inches at each end to do the crimping. So let me go ahead and remove these beads. We don't need these beads. And now I'm going to cut myself a piece of beading wire. There's my wire. I'll need a couple of crimp tubes. My crimp tube covers. Here are my wire guardians. Let me go ahead and place a clip at this end. You can use a bead stopper if you want to. I like to use these clips. And now I'm simply going to offload from the rod directly onto my beading wire. So let me remove my stopper. And one of the nice things about the rods is that they hold the beads in alignment. So it's very easy to thread multiples on all at once. Just like that. Okay, as you can see, I threaded everything on. Now we could have very easily crimped off one end, threaded the beads on, and then crimped off the other end. But it's always a good idea before you crimp anything off to take it to the mirror, hold it up to your chest, and make sure that this is exactly what you want. And the reason I say that is that sometimes the outer dangles don't hang very well if it's too curved. I don't think that'll happen with my design, but I'm going to take this to the mirror now and see how it hangs, and I'll be right back and let you know. Okay, I'm back, and I did hold it up to my chest and it looked just fine. The dangles fan out a little bit, but it's not too bad. I like how it looks. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm ready to crimp off the ends. So let's go ahead and do one end. We're going to thread on a crimp tube. And now let's thread on this crimp guardian. I'm going to go in one end like this. And then go in the other end. Like this. Pull it down, and now I'm going to thread the tail back through the crimp tube like this. Bring everything down. Let me close up these little legs a little bit. You do want to make sure that that beading wire sits inside the channel of that wire guardian, and then you also want to make sure that your beading wire is not crossed inside the crimp tube. It's a little difficult to see, but if you hold it like this, you'll have better luck. Once you've positioned everything properly, you want to go ahead and place the crimp tube inside the first notch. That's the one that creates the U shape, the deep notch. Separate your wire and give it a little tug one more time before you squeeze down. Just like that. Turn it on its side. Now I'm going to place it inside one of the first 3 notches here. I usually choose the middle notch. Just like that. And then when you squeeze down, it should fold that crimp tube. And I usually switch to the tip to squeeze it a little bit more. And this is what you should have. Once you've crimped it off properly, it's safe to cut off the tail. You don't have to thread it through beads. And the reason I say that is because I can't tell you the amount of times that I've made a necklace, and then after a few months of wearing it, the tail pops out, and that's really uncomfortable. If that's ever happened to you, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I know there are reasons for it. Perhaps the beading wire wasn't the correct size for the bead hole, but the holes of beads come in so many different sizes. I just can't be bothered trying to match the correct bead hole with every design, to be quite honest, because as you can see, we use different kinds of beads and all of them have different size holes. So that's very difficult to do. But anyway, getting back to the crimp tube, I always cut the tail off. I'm pretty comfortable doing that because I feel that as long as the crimp tube is crimped properly, the chances of it failing are very slim. So now let's go ahead and slide the crimp tube cover on. Just like that. I like to use these crimping pliers to close it, but you do want to do it gently because you don't want to dent your metal. I usually go around the whole bead until I get a nice round shape. And that looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and slide everything down. And you don't want it too tight, that's the other thing. You want to make sure that it's a little bit fluid. You definitely don't want it real stiff. So now we're going to thread on this crimp tube and the wire guardian, going in one end and then going in the other end. Bring everything down and then thread it through the crimp tube again. And snug it all up. Check your strand again, make sure there are no spaces in between the beads. Let me close up the little legs of the wire guardian. Make sure your beading wire isn't crossed in there. It helps if you wrap the tail on the top side of your index finger like this. And now let me go ahead and place it in the deep divot. And before you crimp down, pull your wire, make sure that it's nice and snug inside this channel of the wire guardian. And then go ahead and crimp down. Turn it on its side. And then squeeze down to fold that crimp tube. Switch to the tip to tighten it up. And that's what you should have. And now I'm going to carefully snip off the excess. And now slide on the crimp tube cover. and close it up. And now that we've completed the lower portion of the necklace, all we have to do is attach some chain and the clasp. Here's my chain. I have a couple of 4mm jump rings. Let me go ahead and open up one of these jump rings. And what I'm going to do is connect one end of this long piece of chain. I'm not going to cut it just yet. Let me close it up. Now before I cut the chain that I need, I'm going to take this to the mirror, hold it up to my chest, and see how much I need to cut. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I've cut the piece of chain that I need. This is about 3.5 inches long, but yours may be different depending on how long you want your necklace. So now I need to cut a second piece that's identical. And the best thing to do is to thread a head pin through one link and then thread it through the link of the other segment of chain. And this is the best way to figure out how much you need without having to count the links. So I need to cut mine right there. I'm pretty sure these are open links and I could probably just separate them, but at this point it's so late in the night, I just want to get this done. So here's my piece of chain. And now I'm going to open up this 4mm jump ring, connect it to the chain, and connect it to the wire guardian. Close it up. Now that we've attached the chain, the only thing we have to do is attach this clasp, and this is a lobster claw clasp from my stash. I also have a couple of 6mm jump rings there. Let's go ahead and open up this jump ring. There's no front or back to this necklace, so it really doesn't matter where you connect the lobster claw clasp. Let me open up this other jump ring and connect it to this strand, this end, close it up, and we're done with this necklace. And tell me that's not cute. I think it's adorable. I love beads that fit together like a jigsaw puzzle, and these really fit nicely together. But like I said, once you put it on, they may fan out a little bit, but that's okay. I think it looks cute either way. So what I'd like to do now is go ahead and put it on and show you what it looks like. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Obviously it was pre-recorded. I'm still out here in the wilderness, semi-wilderness I guess, because we have all that traffic behind me. But this place is actually very, very big, and there are some sections that are very quiet. I just happen to be in the noisiest section. So anyway guys, I don't have the necklace on because I don't usually go for walks with statement necklaces on. People would look at me funny. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.